guys, it's Robin, R's Island Crafts, and welcome to my studio. This video is going to give you the information you need for this weekend's live stream. That is Saturday, March 20th, 2021 at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. And for those of you that have different time changes than we do here in the US, we have just sprung ahead an hour. So our time this week is now different than last week. So yours might be a little off. I know over in the UK, your daylight savings and British Standard Times and such changes differently than ours. Quick little Google search in whatever country you're in and I'm in Florida, so it'll tell you the time differences. This weekend on the live stream, we're going to do something just a little bit different than what you might expect. So some of you are not going to be interested in doing this at all, and some of you may be very interested. I'm going to give you a few different variations so you could participate at the level that is comfortable for you and using the fabrics that you enjoy. But I have seen that a lot of people, even though they don't want to work on the projects with us, they love the community. So they come and hang out at the live stream and they sew their own projects, or they knit or crochet or do some cross stitch or clean their house, and they just keep us around for company. A lot of people enjoy talking in the chat. So even if this project doesn't interest you, you might pick up a couple tips and tricks along the way, or you might just have fun hanging out with people that love fabric as much as you do. Last month, I had someone who wanted a little bit more information about crumbs and what to do with the crumb blocks. And I've shown a few different things here and there, and we've talked about how crumb blocks is just considered a piece of fabric. So if you have something that's maybe a 9.5 or 12.5 inch piece of fabric, like this, that you can really incorporate it the same way as you would a crumb. This is the way you're just creating new fabric. So it may not work in every block, but it does have a lot of crossovers. You can use it for 9 patches. You can use it in the center of different types of blocks like stars and stuff. But I thought we would learn some technique this weekend and then play with the crumb blocks while we're doing it. Now I've made a variety of crumb blocks, and I've made some larger ones so that I can have fun playing with them. You can use as many blocks as you want or as few. And if you don't want to use crumb blocks, I took and I made just a block out of all blue fabrics, so that might look a little bit better. That's kind of like the carrots that I've been working on, so it's just one color. I'm going to show you a little technique with just using solid fabrics. Maybe you have a couple little 4 patches that are left over from quilt stitch you haven't used, or you didn't like the way the fabrics looked, or maybe your centers didn't come out perfect. That's going to be okay. Or you might just have some type of a random block. I just created this one out of my scrap bin. It's not equal, it's not even, but that's okay because I'm going to use this technique on it and we're just going to have a little bit of fun. So what are we going to do? Well, you might have figured it out a little bit if you see some of the things that I've got hanging around here. Oh, and I got a little itty bitty starter of a crumb block too. I thought that might be fun to play with. We're going to take circles. We're going to turn what we're going to do is we're going to take our crumb blocks or our solid fabrics or our loose blocks, and we're going to cut circles out of them, and we're going to applique them onto a placemat. The tools I have for doing circles is I have this Olfa circle rotary cutter. It's a little bit shiny. Let's see if we can pop this open. There you go, circle rotary cutter. This is what it looks like. This one's a little bit of a fancier one. I also have this Easy Circle Cut by Sharon Holtgren. And what this is let's see. I know it's a little bit hard with the lights and everything, but this has little lines in it so that you can use cut a circle out of it in different sizes. This goes from a 2-inch finished circle all the way up to a 10-inch finished circle. You lay this down you fold a piece of fabric in half and you lay it down, and you take one of the smaller rotary cutters and you just cut out the circle, and when you open it up, it cuts an entire circle out for you. So I've had this tool for a while. I've had this tool for a while too. Nice old soup or coffee mug. This is an old Tom and Jerry Welch's jam jar. This one's from 1990. Rob and I have used this for many, many years. We use it for if you want to just have a quick glass of juice in the morning, or if you're using water to take your pills, so you just have this nice little glass sitting there. It's just something we've kept since this is the very first year him and I were actually together in 1990. But you can turn any of these upside down and use them as a circle cutter. So if you have a coffee cup, a glass, or a bowl, or a plate. So any type of tool like that, we can cut it out with our rotary cutter. We can cut it out with our scissors. I have chosen this fabric as my background fabric. I wanted to have a solid, and this time I chose something a little bit darker so that when I put my circles down, the colors are going to be able to stand out on this. So the blues look really nice on there. And then I've got my hodgepodge fabrics, but they're going to stand out against it. So depending on the type of crumbs you've made, because you can make crumb blocks from all of one color like I did with the blues. Maybe you have leftovers from a fabric line when you were working on a quilt, and you could turn those into a couple blocks so that you know all the fabrics are going to blend. Or you can just have craziness and have a whole bunch of different types of fabrics and use that type of a crumb block. And again, we can just use solids too if we want, so that's going to make everything super simple and have it stand out nicely. Since we're going to make a placemat, because a placemat, so you may say, why are we going to make a placemat, Robin? Well, here's a few good reasons. Placemats are small. I have to look up the exact measurements, but I think there's something along lines like 14 by 17 or something like that. So you're doing a small quilt. You're going to go through the whole process. We're going to applique. We're going to cut out our circles, then we're going to applique them down. And I'm going to show you a couple different techniques that I'm aware of. There's probably a whole bunch more out there. You can look all different types of machine applique. Hand applique is going to be for a whole other time, but this weekend we're going to work on machine applique, something nice and quick and simple. I'm going to show you how to use different stitches on your sewing machine to get different looks, whether you want fabric that you don't care if it frays, so if it's raw edge applique, or you prefer to have the edges all turned under so that there's no raw edges. I'm going to show you a little trick with that. And with that trick, we can either have a couple different options. I know we're rambling today, but I'm going to go through a lot of it on Saturday. I just want to make sure you guys have the tools available that you're going to need. There's a couple different techniques. There's one where you can take whatever your block is. Let's say this block right here, right? And then you could put a piece of fabric on it. And when we cut out our circles, we would stitch all the way around. We make a little slice on the background and we turn them right sides out. And then we'd have a nice circle with no raw edges. And then we can either fuse it down or machine sew it or hand sew that down. You can also use some interfacing. Now this one specifically is the P44F that I love to use. So it says P44F, which is Pellon 44 fusible. I don't know what the 44 means, but it's one of their numbers. So I'm going to show you a technique with that, and you can use fusible interfacing. You can just use the woven interfacing. If you have some type of a stabilizer that's of a similar material, we can do that. Or if you don't have that, we're just going to use fabric, and we'll learn how to turn it that way. You don't even have to do circles if you don't want to. You can do hearts. You can stick with squares. You could do triangles. Stars are a little bit more complicated because of the points, but we can do those too, because if you're just doing the raw edge, we're just going to applique it down, so we don't need to worry about that. For me, I'm going to use some Heat and Bond Light. I just picked this up at Walmart a while back. Any type of a fusible product that you like, because there's many of them out there besides just Heat and Bond. There's a variety of them. And since we're doing crumb blocks, there's going to be a lot of seams, so we're not really going to worry about it being stiff because we are making a placemat. Sidetracked Robin, let me just tell you why other reasons that using a placemat is a good idea. Because if we have a placemat, if it turns out something we like, great, we can use it. But if we're using crumb blocks and they're not like our most favorite fabrics, they're the little bits that someone picked out of the trash can, left over from a quilt project or something, you're not as connected and devoted. You don't have such a firm thing. Like if you were to take some really pretty fabric and you were to make these really gorgeous detailed blocks and we were to do something with it and you didn't like the way it turned out, or you're just practicing on it and it didn't come out as perfect as you wanted, you'd probably be a little bit upset, because I know I would if I was using some really nice fabric, and especially if it was like the last of my fabric. I'd be really upset with myself if it didn't come out perfect, because I wouldn't be able to try again. But if we're just doing this on a little placemat, if it's not perfect, it's okay. And if we really don't like it, first of all, if you pick the proper back fabric on the backing of it when we turn it into our placemat, you can always flip it over. You can give it to your grandkids. You can donate it to an animal shelter, and a lot of them like the little mats that go into the kitty cat cages. So if you already know that this is not the project for you, but you do want to learn how to applique circles, but you don't want to do crumbs, and you don't want to keep your finished project because it bothers you if things aren't perfect. And that's perfectly fine. We all have our own different little things. And if it's going to bother you that you are trying to do a circle and it's not perfect, you can always donate it to the animal shelters. Check out on their websites local to you to see if they have any special requirements. Some of them have certain sizes for the cages. This is a cage. And other ones of them really don't care. They just put mats on the floor or on the dog's floor or wherever in the kennels. There used to be down here, we used to have Meals on Wheels where you could donate placemats, and they would take it to the seniors that are living on their own and maybe not have any family down here to come visit them. Like Meals on Wheels might be their only connection to the world. So they take donated placemats and they give them to those people that are all sheltered in and stuff like that, so they have a little bit of brightness. You can donate them to some of the daycares, will take them, some nurseries, some nursing homes. There's always plenty of places that you can donate them to. So we can practice our techniques and not be perfect. And then we can give away, donate, whatever. And then we won't have to look at them ever again. So it's small enough. It's not going to take us a long time. We're going to be able to try all of these out on Saturday. Have a nice, good discussion on different techniques to do it. I just want you guys to be ready and have the tools that you need so that when we get started on Saturday, you'll have everything in front of you. As I said, if you're not a crumb person, but you want to learn how to machine applique circles, just go ahead and cut out some of your random fabrics. Maybe you have some leftovers, or you have an old sheet, you have an old dress shirt that's laying around the house that you can cut up and use that material. I wouldn't use anything that's stretchy like t-shirt material or flannel or fleece or anything like that. We want something that's going to make it easier for us to learn on our first try. T-shirt material, we can do interfacing on it and everything like that, but why give yourself that extra grief of something that stretches all over the place? You can make your own little block of solid fabric. As I mentioned last time when we talked about this, any size square will work. We can cut large circles, we can cut small circles, we can cut our circles in half and cut them into quarters. We can do whatever we want. It's our project. And I think we just want to have a little bit of fun and just play. Just play a little bit and see what we can do and not feel that stress of, this has to be perfect, I have to get it right, this is going on my dining room table. And if you do end up liking it, you can always put it like underneath your sewing machine, make a sewing machine mat to put down like that. That's always a good thing to do too. So fabric, something to sew our circles onto. Of course, your sewing machine and thread. I've got circle cutters or my mug. If you want to try the interfacing technique, you can either have some form of interfacing or another piece of solid fabric that you can use. Something to mark your circles with and something to cut them out with. And some heat and bond if you want to try that. If you don't want to try heat and bond, you can just pin your circles down really well, and that'll work too. So you don't have to go out and purchase anything extra if you don't want to. Now for those of you that might be running a little low on scraps, I have filled up another one of these small flat rate boxes. I've got it stuffed pretty good. So it's stuffed really nice and well in there. It's got a really good variety of scraps. Some are larger, some are smaller. They're mostly strips and strings. There are some crumbs in the bottom that have already been sewn together, but there's a good variety of fabrics in there. I'll go ahead and get this listed into my shop, so if anyone's interested in that, link is always down below in the description box. So I hope you come join us this Saturday, March 20th at noon Eastern Standard Time. right here on my YouTube channel. So thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you guys then. Bye.